Okay, let's dive into a book that honestly is legendary in the trading world, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And right up front, this is not about finding some magical stock tip. Nope. This is all about rewiring your brain, getting your mindset right for what is, let's face it, one of the most psychologically brutal games on earth. So here's the big puzzle, right? You've got these incredibly sharp people, doctors, lawyers, CEOs, you name it, who are absolute killers in their own fields. But then they step into the market and just completely fail. They get wiped out. It's like their intelligence, the very thing that made them successful everywhere else, just doesn't help. In fact, sometimes it feels like it actually hurts them. Why is that? And look at this number, 95%. Let that sink in for a second. 95% of traders fail and lose their money, most of them within their very first year. Now, that's not just a string of bad luck. That's a huge, glaring sign that whatever the conventional wisdom is, it's just plain wrong. It's broken. This is where we get to the core idea, the big shift in thinking that Douglas talks about. See, the common belief, what we're all kind of taught, is that winning is all about market analysis. You know, if you can just predict what the market's going to do next, you've got it made. But the surprising truth? The real key isn't out there in the market. It's in here, in your head. It's not about mastering the charts. It's about mastering yourself. And that leads us straight into what Mark Douglas calls the great trading myth. And believe me, this is a trap that pretty much every single new trader walks right into. The assumption is so seductive because it sounds so logical, right? You think, okay, if I just learn more, if I read one more book, analyze one more chart, I can crack the code. I can get to a point where I can't lose. The idea is that more knowledge will somehow eliminate the risk and prevent the pain of taking a loss. And it makes perfect sense on the surface, but it's completely, fundamentally wrong. And this chase for more and more knowledge, it leads you right into what Douglas calls the black hole of analysis. It's this endless pit, because you can never, ever learn enough variables to eliminate all the risk. The market is just too complex. So instead of feeling more confident, you just end up frozen, totally paralyzed by all the information, and just get more and more frustrated. So if trying to master the market is the wrong path, then what's the right one? Well, this brings us to the real battlefield. And it's not on your computer screen, it's the space between your ears. He calls this the psychological gap. And it's that giant, massive canyon between knowing what you should do based on your analysis and actually being able to do it when the pressure is on and your real money is at stake. I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? You see the perfect setup, you know it's the right move, but you just can't bring yourself to click the mouse. That is the psychological gap. So what's causing that gap? Well, it pretty much boils down to these four big fears. You've got the fear of being wrong, which is a huge shot to the ego. Then, obviously, the fear of losing money. After that comes the fear of missing out, FOMO, which makes you jump into trades you shouldn't. And finally, the fear of leaving money on the table, which makes you get greedy and break your own rules. You mix all those together and you've got a recipe for terrible decision-making. And this quote really nails the mindset we're aiming for. See, the best traders aren't fearless because they're psychics who know what's coming next. Not at all. They're fearless because they've built up these mental attitudes where the market just can't push their emotional buttons anymore. They have what Douglas calls mental flexibility. Okay, but this brings us to a really counterintuitive idea. It's a huge paradox, really. The thing that pulls most of us into trading in the first place, that feeling of total freedom, is actually its single biggest danger. Just think about it for a second. Our entire lives, we operate inside structures. We have bosses, deadlines, laws, social rules, all these external things telling us what to do. But the market, it has absolutely none of that. It's totally unstructured. There are no rules, no boundaries, except for the ones you impose on yourself. That means all the control has to come from the inside. I mean, in the market, there are no beginnings or endings. A trade only stops when you decide to stop it. A losing trade can just keep on losing forever if you let it. You are in complete 100% control. And while that sounds amazing, Douglas says for the unprepared mind, it's a curse. Without that internal discipline, it's so easy to just become a passive loser, just sitting there, paralyzed, watching your account drain away. So how do you possibly deal with that kind of total freedom without blowing up? Well, you have to build your own structure. You have to consciously and deliberately build what we call the winner's mindset. And luckily, Douglas gives us a framework. He breaks it down into 3 key pillars. These are the actual skills you need to develop. Number 1, take 100% responsibility. Number 2, truly accept the risk. And number 3, learn to think in probabilities. Let's dig into that first one, taking 100% responsibility. Now, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's actually the opposite. It's about empowering yourself. It means you stop pointing fingers and saying the market did this to me. The market is totally neutral. It doesn't even know you exist. Your results, both the wins and the losses, are generated by you, by your choices and actions. Once you truly accept that, you can finally start learning from what you're doing. Now, this next one, thinking in probabilities, this is maybe the biggest mental shift of all. You have to stop trying to predict the future. You're not a fortune teller. Instead, you need to start thinking like a casino. Think about it. A casino has no clue whether the next spin of the roulette wheel will be red or black, but they don't care. They know that over thousands and thousands of spins, their small edge will make them money. Guaranteed. That's your job as a trader. Find your edge, and then just execute it over and over, knowing that any single trade can lose. Your profit doesn't come from one trade. It comes from consistency over a whole series of them. And this quote just brings it all home. When you genuinely accept the risk before you even enter a trade, when you know what you could lose and you're truly okay with it, all that fear we talked about just vanishes. A loss stops being this painful, emotional thing. It just becomes data. It's a cost of doing business, and you can move on to the next trade. Clean slate, with no emotional baggage. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The consistency that every trader is desperately searching for. It's not out there in the market. You're not going to find it in some secret indicator. The consistency is inside your own mind. Your internal consistency is what creates your external results. Period. Which leaves us with one last, really powerful question to think about. Douglas says, the market is like a perfect mirror. It just reflects your own mindset right back at you. So if you're experiencing chaos, fear, and frustration, that's not coming from the market. So the question is, when you look at your own trading, your own results, what is that mirror reflecting back at you?